I Am a Poser by the X-Ray Spex was a punk anthem that was a rebellious fuck you to racists and misogynists all over the UK. Today, I'm going to talk about the amazing woman behind it all and how all these years later, sadly, her message is still just as relevant as ever. The X-Ray Spex were an English punk band formed in London in 1976. The singer, and who I believe to be the driving force behind the band, was a woman named Polly Styrene, born Marianne Joan Elliott Said on the 3rd of July 1957 in Bromley. An element of what made them so successful, I believe, is how distinctive they were. They were really into their saxophones, played by the wonderfully talented Laura Logic, which isn't something you really see in punk, but it complemented Polly's voice so well. Her voice was reported to be powerful enough to drill holes through sheet metal. And as wonderfully hilarious as that is, this woman was a powerhouse. She remains as one of the most influential women to emerge from the punk movement. She had a thick set of braces on her teeth, an amazing collection of cardigans, and an important message to spread. Polly's mother was Scottish-Irish. I'm Scottish myself. I'm not English. Stop commenting that. I'm Scottish. But anyway, her mother was Scottish-Irish and her father had immigrated from Somalia. As a result, both of her parents faced racist abuse whilst living in England. Polly herself reported as not feeling like she fit into the black community or the white community growing up. The racial abuse that she experienced was definitely reflected in her music career. Think of a punk band for me. Chances are it is a group of white men. Of course, there was so much diversity in punk, but the stuff that floated to the top was always white men. And Polly knew this. She knew that she had to work twice as hard as other people in the scene, because at every turn, people dismissed her purely for being a mixed race woman. Feelings about race and gender and refusing to be defined by them made their way into a lot of her music. Most notably, I think, in the song I Am a Poser. This song was on the album Germ Free Adolescence, released in 1978. This song refers to how she felt marginalised in the punk scene due to her race and her gender. People didn't take her seriously as a punk musician, and she was often called a poser, meaning that she was pretending to be a punk when she wasn't really to get attention. Let me just tell you now, there was no basis for this other than racism and misogyny. Polly rocked harder than any of the losers that ridiculed her. This was a chance for Polly to say, fuck you. The song leans into the notion of Polly being a poser, sprinkling in so much sarcasm and tongue-in-cheek statements like, exhibition is the name, voyeurism is the game, stereoscopic is the show, viewing time makes it grow. So, obviously, there's sexual undertones to this, which was also really boundary pushing for the time because so much music was about men having sex and how much they enjoy having sex. And it was quite shocking to see a woman publicly talking about how much she enjoys and engages in sex. But deeper than that, it was about how much none of it even mattered. All of the outrage that the racists and misogynists had stirred up only furthered her career. They hated her, but they still watched her, which only lined the pockets of her cardigan. You can also see sexual themes in their single Oh Bondage Up Yours, which was banned by the BBC. But this particular song uses themes of BDSM and female empowerment, whilst also using it as a metaphor for the oppression of women. Sadly, Polly lost her life due to breast cancer on the 25th of April 2011, aged just 53. There's so much more to Polly's story that I haven't covered in this video. Her daughter, Celeste, made a documentary about her life and the racism and discrimination that she faced in it. It's called I Am a Cliche, and I would highly recommend giving it a watch. I'll put any information sort of down in the description for you to go digging a little bit, because I can't put everything in this video. I've only got so much time and stuff, and I'm a uni student, and blah blah blah, you don't care about me. Polly was an amazing woman, and the punk scene was a much better place because of her. Heartbreakingly, all of these years later, Polly's fight against discrimination is still just as relevant as ever. This next bit will honestly be like a lot less factual and more about my own experiences. So, like, please do keep that in mind going forward. But I'm sure that most people watching this will have stories, adjacent to the ones that I'm telling. So, just keep all that in mind. Okay, so let's start with a bit about me for those that haven't followed my channel for very long. I've loved punk forever and considered myself to be one for just as long. I've grown up pretty working class and I've witnessed hard-working people get fucked over by a system that was built to reward the 1%. You've been sold a lie, Just go to university, get a good job, work hard, you'll get a nice house, and it's all a lie. In a way, being a punk was like kind of inevitable for me. This is my uncle. This is my dad. This is my mum. This is my brother Ross. And this is my brother Ben. I always think it would have been quite funny if I rebelled against the family norm and became like a suit and tie businessman or something. And even when you see the enthusiasm that I have for the music and the subculture and the politics as a whole, and how it's very much built into my upbringing, I still get flooded with comments calling me a poser for one reason or another. Sometimes it's just because I'm young, which I don't understand either, because surely if you see like a young person wearing a band t-shirt and you interact with them about the band and they haven't listened to the band, I can understand why it's a little bit annoying, but why wouldn't you want to take that time to educate them and to show them the music that you love, because maybe they'll love it? But also, why the fuck are you just assuming that because I'm young I don't know what I'm talking about? But anyway, so sometimes it is just because I'm young, but sometimes it is a lot more insidious than that. I had a guy comment on my last video that I did a really good job. He said that he was into like the Grebo subculture at the time, and I was obviously really passionate about the subject and knew my stuff. I assume he had then gone onto my channel to check out the rest of my stuff, and he had found out that I'm transgender. He then deleted his original comments that were praising me and had commented various horrible and transphobic statements. He also added that my video was terrible and I obviously don't know what I'm talking about. Now, I find this kind of irony extremely funny, but the use of transphobic slurs in my comment section isn't going to be tolerated. These things roll right off my back, but I'm not the only one that's seeing this shit, and I feel like as a creator, a small creator, but still as a creator, I have a duty to protect my audience. I remember what it was like being young and online. I started this channel when I was like 15, so and people are so cruel. Like, you're finally figuring out who you are, and now you've got some idiot calling you a name because your existence progressed past primary school level biology. I hate that shit. Oh, it's basic biology, it's basic biology. Yeah, damn right it's fucking basic. This is basic. It goes beyond that, buddy. And you may think that this kind of censorship isn't very punk of me. Well, remember, you have the freedom of speech, but not the freedom of consequences. You have the right to say whatever idiotic thing that you like in the comment section, but I also have the right to delete it and publicly slag you off for being such a fucking knob. I'm actually kicking myself that I didn't screenshot it. Like I said, I just kind of delete them so nobody else has to read that nonsense. Next time I will definitely take a screenshot and name and shame, because ultimately that's what these pricks deserve. All this to say, I know exactly what Polly was talking about. I've obviously never experienced the level of discrimination that Polly did. She was a lot more famous than I am, of course, and I'm not mixed race either. But I grew up transgender and alternative in Scotland, so I can definitely relate. Racism, sexism, transphobia, and any other kind of discrimination has no place in punk, and it never fucking did. Johnny Rotten worshippers love to say that this generation are woke snowflakes for standing up to discrimination. Do yourself a favour and have some fucking respect for where your subculture came from, where it went, and where it's going. Holly was an amazing woman, and I'm devastated that her message is still relevant today. It shouldn't be. We should be looking back on this music with a lens of horror that this is how people were treated. But ultimately, it's still how people are being treated. Discrimination has no place in punk.